Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well informed. Today, we're diving into some pretty significant recent events and reported statements. These are attributed to Field Marshal Asim Munir, all based on the material you shared with us. Our goal here is really to pull out the key insights from these sources, help you understand the details, some surprising moments, and what they reportedly mean. Okay, let's unpack this. We're going to kick things off overseas. Seems the Field Marshal's anticipated travels sparked some, well, unexpected situations. Our sources detail this protest, August 10th, in Brussels, Belgium. It was organized by the Pakistani diaspora, specifically against Field Marshal Asim Munir's visit. But here's where the story, according to our source, gets a bit strange. It mentions an intervention. About 12 to 14 individuals described as thugs or miscreants.
Yeah.
And reportedly, from the Pakistani embassy. What's really striking, though, is their reported behavior. Very contradictory. The source says they were allegedly carrying flags of the PTI, that's Imran Khan's party. Yet they were chanting anti-Imran Khan and pro-Field Marshal Munir slogans.
And then things reportedly turned violent. Material we have includes footage showing at least one injured Belgian citizen.
Right. And what's fascinating here, or perhaps concerning, is how quickly this seems to have become a legal matter. The injured person reportedly filed an FIR, that's the initial police report, directly against Field Marshal Asim Munir, alleging the attack happened on his orders. Now, the material points out this could be serious under Belgian law. It even draws a parallel to an older case involving another military figure. Usually, you'd expect diplomatic immunity to cover embassy staff, but the source suggests direct criminal activity, if proven, could potentially bypass that.
So immunity isn't necessarily a complete shield in this kind of alleged situation.
According to the source's perspective on Belgian law in this context, potentially not for the individual accused if direct criminal action is involved. And the eyewitness details in our material add more layers, mentioning 15-20 attackers, police stepping in, and activists from France being wounded. And critically, some alleged attackers reportedly seen going back into the embassy afterwards.
And the surprises didn't stop in Belgium. Let's look at Denmark. Another embassy event, another really unexpected outcome described in our sources. This one was actually meant to praise Field Marshal Asim Munir. But reports suggest some attendees started making verbal attacks on Imran Khan. Didn't name him, but the target was clear. Then, this individual, Imran Mahboub, reportedly stepped up to the stage to respond. And somehow this gathering, intended for praise, ended with people chanting, "Long live Imran Khan," quite vigorously, apparently.
A remarkable turnaround for an event planned with a different purpose. Really highlights the charged atmosphere.
Definitely. Okay, so from Europe, let's shift across the Atlantic. Tampa, Florida. This involves some really controversial statements reportedly made there. It was a formal black-tie dinner, Grand Hyatt Hotel, hosted by Adnan Assad, Pakistan's honorary consul in Tampa. About 120 diaspora guests. The occasion seems linked to General Kurilla's departure, a key U.S. military figure. And it's important, I think, to note how this information came out. Mobile phones were apparently banned. So these accounts are based on what attendees recalled hearing afterwards. That's our primary source material here.
Exactly. And these reported statements, while they carry a lot of weight, the source material offers some very pointed analysis too. The first one, and it's probably the most jarring, concerns Pakistan's nuclear capability. Field Marshal Munir reportedly said, and I'm quoting the reported statement here, "We are a nuclear nation. If we are attacked and we feel we are going down, we will take half the world with us."
Wow, that is an incredibly strong statement, taking half the world down. What does the source say about the implications?
The source interprets this as extremely dangerous, not just strong, but irresponsible. It draws a contrast with Imran Khan's fight till the last drop of blood comment at the UN. Both are strong, yes, but the source argues Khan's was about defending Pakistan within its borders. This reported statement, "Take half the world with us," is seen by the source as having vastly different and, frankly, more alarming global repercussions. It could, the source suggests, put Pakistan's nuclear program under intense international scrutiny, maybe even trigger action.
A very different category of statement, then, according to that interpretation.
Precisely. Now, shifting slightly, the material also mentions a reported warning to India about dam construction. This allegedly included a threat of missile strikes. While it's definitely forceful, the source views this as, let's say, less problematic on the global stage than the nuclear comment, because it's India-specific. Though it also implies such threats might be better coming from civilian leaders.
Okay. Then there's this analogy, the one comparing Pakistan and India. This one really stood out to me in the source material. Reportedly, Field Marshal Munir said, "India is a shining Mercedes on a highway. Pakistan is a dump truck filled with garbage."
I mean, hearing a national leader describe their own country like that, it's quite startling, isn't it?
It is, and the source material is quite critical of this. Beyond just the shock value, the analysis in the source suggests this kind of analogy, especially from a leader, could seriously damage national pride. It might signal internationally a lack of confidence from the leadership itself. The source argues, look, even if you want to point out economic disparities, there have to be ways to do it without, well, resorting to language that demeans the nation.
That makes sense. It's about the impact on dignity, both internal and external perception.
Exactly. And perhaps even more significant politically are the reported comments on the military's role and the 18th Amendment. Field Marshal Munir is reported to have justified military involvement in politics. The quote provided is, "Politics is also too serious to be left to politicians," suggesting, they need to step in because politicians aren't up to scratch.
Okay, that's a classic justification we sometimes hear. But then the 18th Amendment point.
Yes, this is crucial. The material details a reported conversation with Babarari where Field Marshal Munir directly criticized the 18th Amendment. Remember, that amendment boosted provincial autonomy and reduced presidential powers quite significantly. He reportedly called it a wrong thing that weakened the country.
That's very direct criticism of a major constitutional change. What does the source make of that?
The source interprets this very strongly. It suggests this points towards a potential ambition to become head of state and possibly to roll back that provincial autonomy, re-centralize power, which of course would have massive implications for Pakistan's political structure and existing alliances.
Huge implications. Were there other noteworthy things reported from this Tampa event?
Yes. A few other points mentioned in the sources. There was some religious framing, like relating Pakistan's founding to Riyasat-e Tayyaba, an ideal state, and linking it to mineral wealth. The source offers a historical note here, pointing out the term often used historically was Riyasat-e-Medina, and drawing a distinction related to debates about national identity, especially post-1971.
Interesting nuance there.
Also, reportedly, an offer to coach India on balancing relations with the U.S. and China, and some praise for former U.S. President Trump, mentioning his Nobel Peace Prize nomination.
Okay. And something about checking news.
Right, checking Fasik Kabar. He reportedly described it as false or corrupt news. It's a term from religious texts, basically meaning unreliable information that causes discord.
Got it. So a wide range of topics covered. How did the audience interaction go?
Well, the event apparently concluded with a Q&A. 14 questions were asked, which Field Marshal Munir reportedly appreciated. Our source highlights one particular interaction with Fuzia Kasuri, formerly of PTI. She reportedly praised Munir and actually encouraged him to continue suppressing PTI.
And what about the presidency question?
Yes, someone asked if he planned to become president. He reportedly just smiled and denied it. But the source interprets that smile and denial, perhaps cynically, as an implicit yes.
So taking all these reported statements and interactions together, what's the overall picture painted by the source?
If we try to synthesize everything from the source material, it observes what it sees as, well, a series of contradictions in his public persona. The source uses terms like filmy or theatrical, extremist, showing low self-esteem with the dump truck analogy, acting like a religious scholar, and also presenting as a dictator. It paints a picture of a figure with multiple, sometimes conflicting facets being presented.
That's quite a mix. And for you, listening, it really highlights the challenge of understanding public figures based on reported accounts like these. So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you? Our deep dive into this source material has brought up some really heavy points. We've touched on the reported nuclear threat framed by the source as potentially very dangerous. We looked at that controversial dump truck analogy and the source's concerns about national dignity, and of course the reported stance on the 18th Amendment, which the source reads as a possible signal towards wanting more centralized power.
Yeah, I think this whole exercise really underscores how important it is to scrutinize public statements and reported actions, especially from powerful figures. These things have weight. They have real implications domestically and definitely on the world stage. They shape how a country and its leadership are seen.
Absolutely. And that leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder. Considering this whole spectrum of reported events and statements from our source, the protests, the Tampa speech, the analogies, the political comments, what broader insights might these offer about the complexities of leadership, about national identity, and about how Pakistan is perceived, both internally and externally, today?